We all feel them. The forbidden, the sinful, the taboo. Behaviors that divide cultures and inspire fear. But our differences may be what make us all human.
Every religion requires followers to accept a framework of belief.
I believe in the Quran, and I think what the Quran said is always right.
Doesn't mean if you pray every day that you're the best person.
I believe when you help somebody, God helping you.
But some interpretations of faith demand far more than devotion. They transcend the limits of mainstream religion in graphic, even dangerous ways. What some communities see as a test of faith, outsiders may call taboo. In this hour, take a terrifying plunge with islanders in the South Pacific who risk their own children's lives for their faith. Reenact an ancient miracle in Greece by walking barefoot across fiery coals. Meet a man who thanks God for saving his wife and child by crucifying himself every year. And wonder, how far would you go to prove your faith? The tiny South Pacific island of Pentecost is home to what may be the most dangerous test of faith in the world. Many people here hold animistic beliefs tied to the bounty of the rainforest. Every year, village elders organize a ritual designed to secure the gods' favor. In a spectacular and frightening display called land diving, young men and boys, some just 5 years old, literally risk their necks. Only 2 fragile vines save them from crashing into the ground. It's the ancient precursor of bungee jumping. But here, it's considered a sacrifice for the survival of the community.
Risking death, I think, is probably as old a practice as humanity itself.
Christopher Davis is an anthropologist at the School of Oriental and Asian Studies in London.
One of the many things that distinguishes human beings from animals, it's this capacity to risk death or loss of life or disability in order to perpetuate life in the future over the next year or 2 or 3 years.
Here on the island, Chief Willie Warren presides over his village's ceremony.
When they climb on the tower, they have no fear because it's their culture. The man's faith helped him to put the fear out, and then he must jump. He must take an action to jump.
By some estimates, land diving dates back 15 centuries. Its exact origin is obscure, but it is tied to the local religion of animism. People here believe in a world of spirits that demands offerings. Originally, divers would perform just after the yam harvest to thank the gods and to assure another fruitful crop. According to tradition, the jumper's shoulders should graze the ground and fertilize the soil for the next planting. When Pentecost Island was colonized by Britain and France in the 19th century, Christian missionaries tried to ban the practice. But to people here, risking lives is understandable when the community's very survival is at stake.
A practice like this would happen around harvest time because, after all, this is the most critical moment.
Canadian anthropologist Wade Davis is a National Geographic explorer in residence.
Don't forget that in pre-industrial society, harvest was not a done deal. I mean, for example, in the high Andes of Peru, during the time of the Inca, it was absolutely common for roughly 25% of the crop to be wiped out by hail or by frost. And whether your food came in or not determined literally whether you're going to live the next year.
The village of Wale is one of several on the island that holds land diving rituals every April and May. Willie Warren supervises the tower's construction. It's a skill he hopes to pass on to his 7-year-old son, Phillip.
I built the tower when my father is still alive. When my father died, and I took his place.
At home, the next generation is eager to follow in his father's footsteps. Twice Phillip has leapt from his father's towers, but only after a gentle push. This year, he's determined to jump on his own. The test of faith begins well before jump day. Each man must find and harvest his own vines. With the gods watching, the choice can mean the difference between life and death. At least one man has died when his brittle vine snapped. He fell to the ground and broke his back.
The whole point is to have death be just right on the periphery, but somehow not get you, and that's a proof of your virtue.
Under Willie Warren's direction, they lashed together nearly 1,000 logs without a single nail, an inch of wire, or even a measuring tape. Willie will have the honor of jumping from the very top, around 24 meters or 80 feet. For their most crucial decision, where to cut their vines, they rely on sight alone. Too long, and they risk slamming into the ground and breaking their necks. They make their choices carefully. Coming up, young Phillip faces his test of faith. Whatever happens, will he survive? And later, Greek Orthodox worshippers challenge a church taboo by risking their flesh on a bed of fire. And a Filipino man thanks God for divine intervention by enduring unbelievable pain. On Pentecost Island in the South Pacific, the land diving towers are complete. By jump day, 9 men have volunteered to dive. Women are not allowed to jump. As the youngest, 7-year-old Phillip Warren will go first. His fate is now up to the gods. There's no doctor standing by. People here believe the risk will help Phillip learn to be a man.
Clearly, in this case of the jumping, you are doing two things. You're making a gesture to the field, a gesture to your harvest, and of course you're also doing this moment where you're bringing a young lad not only into manhood, but into manhood in an event which is absolutely essential to the well-being of the society, which is the harvest.
Boys can make their first jump as soon as they are circumcised, sometimes as young as 5. 7 meters or 25 feet up, Phillip balances on a platform just wide enough for his feet. Some fathers might ban a child from such a jump. Willie is prepared to give Phillip a push if he needs it. The moment of truth has arrived. He could break his neck. He is rattled, but unhurt. And he has made his father very happy. With each dive, the tower and platforms seem to grow less sturdy. And there's also the danger of tying on tangled vines. Even if all goes well, the jolt at the bottom is enough to pull bones from their sockets. A diver must come prepared, or he will pay the price.
And if you don't have all these things in your brain and heart, that means everything you want to do for the tower, you cannot do it. Because you will get injury or anything can happen to you.
This is what religion is, really. It's about giving up your own belief and giving it over to something that's greater than yourself.
Yvonne Chereau is a religion professor at Swarthmore College in the U.S.
That's the object of a lot of the tests. My life is not my own, okay? And my life is given over to this power or this force that is greater than me. There are little tests and there are big tests.
A vine breaks. But this diver is lucky. In the past, a snapped vine resulted in a fractured hip. Others have broken collarbones. The last jumpers have chosen platforms a dizzying 7 stories above the ground. The long vines, which took a decade to grow, are like 100-pound shackles. Traditionally, islanders believed that the higher the jump, the greater the blessing. Men brave enough to dive from the top secured a good yam crop and the prosperity of the community. Philip's father, Willie Warren, is one of their best land divers. He gets a raucous welcome. Willie must jump out as far as he can to avoid impaling himself on the tower's rough logs. He urges on the singers, summoning support. Willie proves why he is a land dive champion. He's strong enough to spring back on his feet, an accomplishment few can match. It's a performance worthy of the gods. While the people of Pentecost Island need no longer fear famine if their yam harvests fail, they still treasure their tradition of land diving. It remains a personal test of strength, bravery, and faith. Some might see risking harm as an extreme way to win favor from the gods. But dangerous tests also reinforce a believer's own faith.
Why are miracles so important? Because they're like the stunning billboard proclaiming the reality of the faith. You know, if you don't have miracles, if you don't have gestures of faith like that, the faith becomes more tenuous, or can become more tenuous. And when we say we want to demonstrate our faith, at some level, it's a sincere gesture of showing your commitment to a belief system.